So my name is Khwaja Saifuddin. I'm the Senior Director for Sales in the Middle East. I manage the Western Digital portfolio of products. When I say portfolio of products, it ranges from starting from a consumer to the highest end of the enterprise storage. So wherever there is a need of a storage product, be it on the micro SD card, going all the way to the USBs, hard drives, and then the enterprise storage. If we touch base from a product perspective and what are the new innovations happening from the product, we just launched the highest capacity micro SD card, which is a 1 terabyte micro SD card for anyone and everyone who wants to use it from a mobile application. And the key differentiator is that you can run your apps from this card. Otherwise, you had to clog on the space available on the host device to store the apps, and usually these external storage devices were used for photos, videos. But that's the key differentiator, that it's an A1 class card. So you can directly save your apps and run it from that. Going up from a consumer perspective, the change which we have brought is that we have sliced that consumer by his needs. So it's not just someone who's creating data, sharing data and accessing data. Where is he using it? What does he want in that product? So we have also just come out with a category of products for the gamers, an external storage device. So internal, we always had it from an NVMe perspective, the WD Black internal SSD. But now we've also launched an external range of products for the consumer who wants to save his games. Instead of carrying the console, he carries that device, the external storage device, to his friend's place, plays on it, and uses that for that.
So roughly in terms of revenue distribution, just a very broad thing, consumer to business, what's the
I think so it's very evenly distributed, 50-50, when we look at it from a revenue perspective.
And if you go to the business side, do we see form factors, array, flash, micro SDs? I mean, do we have some pattern over there?
So of course, being the consumer product, the micro SDs and the SD cards, they are much more in units. The affordability is, the cost is low, and the consumer is much more higher in units. But if you look at it from a petabyte perspective, then yes, from an enterprise side, the petabytes are much, much more higher, because there we are talking about multiples in terabytes as a unit versus GBs.
Essentially, storage unit is proportional to price. The higher the storage sold, the better the revenue.
Yeah.
Profitability, flash is profitable.
So for us, profitability is across the board, because we are vertically integrated in everything which we produce. It's not something which we are just finishing and selling in it. So we have across from flash to hard drive, everything is produced in-house.
Let's talk about innovation now. You mentioned a very interesting, the micro SD, and the fact that application means compute.
Yes.
And application.
Compute and application in there.
We heard about this from a gentleman who had a glass, the superimposed glass, and he was carrying the server in his pocket.
Okay.
Essentially meaning that a persistent memory type of thing for face recognition, bring the application as close to the CPU, and that is storage, right?
Yeah.
Tell us more about this.
So if you look at it, we define it between core and the edge is the generic thing which people look at it. But we look at it as also from an endpoint perspective, that we brought that edge computing more towards the endpoint. And it's not only these glasses. Now there's so many body-worn cameras. And this is the key thing for artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is nothing else but a lake of data which you can mine and get a much more meaningful information out of it. Around all this is data. That how much you're capturing, and from that captured data, how much data is getting used for that. We see cameras and things running 24/7. The only way we go back is in case of an eventuality, we want to find out that who was that person who caused it and things like that. But just imagine if we were mining on those data points and getting to know that where the air conditioning needs to be adjusted, what is the heat map, how many people are coming in. We can find out ethnicities, we can find queues outside toilets, that how much more needs to be done, where the traffic of people and not only cars needs to be managed. Stands can be made much more according to those studies. Just from the images, body languages, and we can read that what needs to be done where.
So contextual information.
Exactly.
Contextual information leading to
Actual information.
So let's look at this edge is very interesting, like you mentioned, and we have a lot of use cases we are seeing a lot of transformation happening, which is in the transportation area, right? That if you can reduce the number of people driving the vehicles, you increase the vehicles, and the safer they are, the more, and so on, so on. So what is happening in some of these transportation use cases?
So the biggest...
If they're autonomous, they'll generate data, somebody has to look at the data.
Exactly. Now, do we need a human intervention when that data needs to be, because whenever we bring a human intervention, there is a lag time. But if we automate that, and that's the biggest, I would say the leapfrog jump in that is autonomous vehicles, is that these vehicles talk to each other. So they don't need to transmit that data back to a server base, a human sitting on it, working on it, sending an instruction back, because by then it would be too late. The accident would have happened. So all these autonomous vehicles, they talk to each other, telling each other that there is a traffic congestion, the road conditions, the weather conditions, how, where, which lane to adopt, and they adjust the distances between each other depending on these conditions as well, because that's a funnel through which they're moving. And that's where we are trying to reduce the human intervention and make that machine learning much more richer than it was.
So as a storage vendor, how are you going to do this? It seems that you are shooting out of your league or something like that.
Everything is around...
Intelligence, okay, so let's start from the fundamentals. You're in the business of managing storage and data. I mean, storage as a place and data, right? And now you're talking about making intelligent, the throughput, the analytics, the level of contextual, and now you're talking about end-body problem, right? Managing, how do you get from one place to the other in terms of innovation?
So the foundation of all this is data. Everything is based on data. The question is, how fast can that data be transmitted, be written and read? And that's where we come into play. Naturally, all the layers on top of the hardware is not done by us. It's done by people who specialize on those. It could be the Teslas of this world, it could be any other manufacturer. But the basis which they want is the fastest possible medium on which data can be written, read and shared. And that's where our expertise come into play.
So we see some alliances of storage vendors with people who are in the compute business, like graphic GPU processing, as being a key element of processing the data, like you said. Is this alliance required for you at this time, or is it not really required? As you said, you're creating the base.
So for us, it's neutral to alliances, because once you form an alliance, you're much more inclined towards one platform than the other. So for us, our core competency is to provide the best possible storage for whatever application or use you want to put that storage device into. And we are neutral. We have flash-based storage devices, we have hard drive-based, magnetic recording storage devices. So depending on the application and the need of storage, it depends on the developer, that what he wants to develop as a building based on the foundation which we can offer.
Fantastic. Let's look at the regional landscape. So essentially you've been going to market with the channel, right? The channel has a legacy in terms of the reseller type of partners. Not much of specialization was there before. What's happening now in terms of the demand and as well as the sell-through process?
So since 2018, that typical reseller market has evolved a lot. So gone are the days when they were only box movers. Today, you see a lot of mobile phone dealers, satellite industries moving into surveillance industry, which is one of the fastest growing or still growing segment from a PC, compute, storage, or that interlinked way. The other key thing which we have seen maturing a lot is the gaming segment from a PC compute side. So people are not getting that many desktop PCs assembled for their day-to-day use, but a lot of gaming PCs are getting assembled. And for that typical reseller, that's a very high ASP item. We're talking about in excess of 5,000 to 6,000 dirhams per PC, and plus the monitors and things like that. So people have started maturing and specializing in those core categories.
Fantastic. So in terms of the any role models or something for the connected car, are you involved in that, or just providing the basic equipment and the platform?
So from a head office perspective, for sure we would be, but because of the NDAs, we cannot share the names or the technologies or how developed we are. But I think so we are engaged with all the car manufacturers when it comes to automation. and autonomous development of automobiles.